I'm Katie,
I'm Kylie.
and this is
You're Not Paranoid. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm all right.
Your hair is blonde.
Indeed, it has been for a while. It's kind of sad.
Wait, what? I was gonna say, I meant to ask you when I saw you. Oh yeah, by the way. Wait, first. I was gonna do by the way, but before the by the way, the other by the way. Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Kylie.
And I'm Katie.
And as you already heard, and that's why you're here, You're Not Paranoid.
Mm-hmm.
The podcast. Welcome back / hey, if it's your first time. Join the party.
Woo-hoo.
So I don't know if you guys heard, and this is what I was about to talk about, is that Miss Katie over here is a freaking A. Nope, that's you, girl, right there. Yep, right there with the cool You're Not Paranoid swag. Purple sweatshirt. Check it out. Oh, I was gonna wear my hat, but my hair looks not so bad today. Speaking of hair, Katie's hair is not pink anymore. And that's what I was going to say is also Katie is a badass because I forgot to check her hair after you ran a freaking marathon. That was amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, it was blonde then too. It washed out pretty fast.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Jerks.
I know. So I have a lot left over. I think I might buy a bottle of like the darker one and mix it.
Yeah. You like ombre pink.
I know. That'd be cool if I was talented enough.
You're pretty talented, I will say.
Yeah, I mean, since it washed out so fast, I can experiment.
Yeah. It's like, well, just like the one time it's like too much and then it's just
well,
like
I mean,
permanent.
there's a couple little spots where there's like the faintest like little peach left, which is
like
kind of
peach
annoying.
streak. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Peaches and cream. Yeah. I like that commercial. It's so weird. That was good marketing on their part. But your hair looks blonder than pre-pink. That's what I'm trying to
Well,
say.
because I went to my hairstylist and I asked for pink/rose gold.
Right.
And she did. So like she is basically like two dyeing sessions in one. So she
Okay.
dyed it really, really blonde.
And
And then
that's what we're
wash that
seeing
out.
now.
Yeah. And then put the pink on top, which is also kind of like a washout.
Got it. Got it. For some reason, I thought it was a permanent. So that's why I was like, how did it already wash out?
No. It's kind of weird, I guess, even at the professional level. Like the dyes that they have for like colors aren't the same as like the ones they have for blonde, brunette, black.
They're like, we don't want anyone to get mad at us. Let's make this wash out fast.
Probably. I
It's
mean,
like a
they do make
liability thing.
Yeah, that's probably it. They also have like shampoos and conditioners that have the tints in them. I think you're supposed to use them to help you. But my hairstylist gave me a rose gold one. I don't think it really does anything.
I've heard that before from my hairstylist, not to throw her under the bus, but when I got my hair darkened for the wedding, I was like, but I have a blonder shampoo. She's like, it's all fine. It's the same. It's just color safe. I was like, oh, why do they make them like red safe, blonde safe, brown safe, brunette safe, whatever, you know? Like, good.
Yeah, maybe for darker it doesn't matter.
Oh,
Like
maybe. But I
using
was
a
trying to
lighter
keep
on a
it
darker.
dark.
Oh.
I feel like, yeah, maybe. I see
Yeah,
what
because I
you're
know like
saying.
a lot of the like dyes it says like not for brunettes. Like the stuff you can buy at Ulta.
Yeah. Maybe it well, especially if it's like the ones that have the bleach, not bleach, but like, you know, the like lemon juice to lighten your hair, like summer hair. Give yourself nice and streaky. Take it back to the 90s. Chunky. Like everywhere. And then you'd be the opposite, right? You'd be like chunky, dark
Brown.
pieces everywhere. Remember when that was a look? The like
I mean, I
dark
kind of have
hair.
the look with like the dark roots coming in pretty bad.
But if you did like my mom, fun fact, she's like the most badass chick I know. She has blonde on top and then like red underneath. And she's
Mm-hmm.
had that. Remember, it was like a big thing in the
Yeah.
2000s when Christina Aguilera did that with her. She had like black hair almost, like dark hair
Yeah.
underneath. So my mom never got rid of it. She's had blonde and red, and now it's become blonde, pink, and blue, I think.
Ooh,
But she's quite adventurous.
that's fun.
I forgot where
Does
I was
hers
going with
last?
that. It does, but she
Hmm.
also doesn't wash her hair that much. You know, I don't know how long it lasts. I don't see my mom like every day. I'm seeing her tomorrow because it's Mother's Day weekend. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers
Happy
out there.
Mother's Day.
Hey, you're a dog mom, so woof
Is
woof
that,
to
we'll
you.
see if they give me anything.
Maybe they'll leave you a little poop treat.
Probably.
Yeah, same with my cat. I'm a cat mom. I thought you were gonna say that, but whatever.
Does it
Um,
count?
well, my cat mom, whatever. And he definitely leaves me treats because he'll like scarf his food and then it's like bleh. Like bleh, but like in like a cat way. Not like not like what did she say at the beginning of all her songs? Like this is tough girl stuff. Like what did she say?
Oh, get out of here. Real hot girl shit.
Yes. Oh, real hot girl shit. Okay. Well, my cat is like this is real cat shit. But like it's actually in his litter box. And he's like bleh. He's like meow. Yeah, so
Uh,
hopefully he leaves me
okay.
something that's not so gross as well.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Luckily he's indoor only, so I don't get any like birds or mice or any leaves brought into the house, so that's a good thing.
Yet.
Yeah. Yeah, he does eat spiders though, very slowly. Anyways, that's another story for another day. Hey, your cat, I mean, one of your other dogs is like what she eats.
My dog,
The other dog. Not like your
Addison,
baby dog, Addison.
Addison eats poop. The other dog's poop.
Oh.
And now, like, if it's scarce, she eats her own. Trigger warning for more
Hair?
poop.
Oh
I
my
caught her in the
god.
act of like making a fresh one and then eating it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm gonna barf. Are you why?
Because it's
Addison.
better warm. I don't know.
You're how are you not grossed out by that? Did you almost barf watching her eat it?
No. Well, because I'm
Sick.
not like, I think for me it's more of the smell than the action. So I'm like in the house watching, and then I run out and grab her. But I don't get,
Like what was your reaction? Like, oh shit, like don't eat the shit.
yeah. And she's also,
Hmm.
because it's usually like her last potty run before going to bed.
Like
And
a
I think
nighttime snack.
yeah, she knows that I don't like to go out. And so she like just bets on me not coming out. So I'll be like, Addison, no, Addison, no. And she just ignores me.
She's just like eating it, looking at you like
Hmm.
la 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 la.
Or like, cause
What are you gonna do about it?
the little ones like to poop on the side of the house. And when she finally comes around the corner, it's like, she's licking her lips.
Dude.
She's
Oy,
nasty.
oy, oy. Maybe I just had a realization.
Mm.
Oh, this is sad.
That's
Remember
why
when you
her
said you had
cooter's
a
all
theory
messed
that
up.
she was homeless?
Oh, I was going in a
Maybe that
different
was how she
direction.
like you were going a different direction. But you said you think she was homeless when she was a puppy. I wonder if that's how she got by. And so she's like reminiscing with her poop in her mouth.
Maybe. She's like, I'm hungry again.
She's like, this does the trick. Nighttime
Maybe.
snack.
Because there could have been like other animal poops in the park and stuff.
Yeah, and she became like she's like, it's an acquired taste.
Mm-mm. Poor girl.
What would be her favorite though? Raccoon?
I think it might have
Bunny?
been squirrel or the squirrels tormented her because
Mm.
those things, when she sees one, she goes nuts.
Yeah.
She's also fond of trash. So,
Because it's
homeless dog.
probably her homeless days. Aw.
Hmm.
She's like, my friends. Remember these times?
Remember when we used to share poop and trash together?
Maybe you think she's trying to attack the squirrels, but really it's just like, "Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Yeah,
Like, long time no see.
you made it.
You made it. Look where
So did
I am.
I.
Don't share with anybody."
Aw.
Oh, well, happy Mother's Day. So that was the that was the segue.
Oh,
Oh, good
good
times,
time.
good times. So now we're here and we got through the week,
Yeah.
right? How
Yeah.
were all your experiments better today? That after
I
I
don't
talked
know.
to you?
I just put on the last ones and left because they take like 2.5 hours.
You're like, we'll
I
see
could
what happens.
I could remote in now and look at them, but I don't want to go in on the weekend, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, you're like, what's the point? Like, it's just gonna, yeah,
It's also
fair enough.
the thing where you're told you have to run all these experiments and they're due like in a day because other people need are like asking for results,
Uh-huh.
and it's like,
And they didn't
okay.
like, I've come, remember, I think we were talking about this before that like when my customers or maybe your coworkers, not to project, but when people get upset, it's usually because they're in the wrong and they don't want to admit it. And so they'd rather make it your problem and like be able to blame you. So for
Mhm.
example, like that being like, oh, it's due in a day for these experiments. It's like, is it due in a day? Or did you just not tell me until yesterday?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know because I'm a natural procrastinator, and I feel like that might
I
be a
would not
trait.
I would not believe that for a second, but that's
Really?
just me. Yeah, you seem so on top of it. I never,
Oh.
maybe because you're so calm, I can't tell when you've procrastinated. I just assume you always like have everything under control. Because like when I procrastinate, I'm like, like I'm a bad procrastinator because I don't want to procrastinate. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I
But I
think
guess
I'm
if you
like
own
the
it, then you're like comfortable in it.
yeah, I feel like I just watched a TikTok or read something, I can't remember, about like why people procrastinate, and it like makes sense
Mm-hmm.
because some people need, so I think like my hormones are off, so like people need that, like, is it dopamine?
Yeah,
Like the dopamine rush of like the pressure of
the
something
thrill.
being due. Yeah, so you like purposefully wait until like you get that. I think I'm very much driven by anxiety. I've been coming to realize.
I think
And
a lot of us are.
so that's part of it is like procrastinating to get to that anxious. Because if I'm like given a 3 weeks or whatever, I'm like, oh, that's fine. I don't really
Smooth
feel like work.
sailing.
Like, how am I supposed to work on it if I don't feel a rush of anxiety? So,
I
but
think a lot of people that resonates with for sure.
yeah. Um, but yeah, I hadn't really realized why I was procrastinating. But anywho's, I think the science community also likes to procrastinate or is like that same like mind space, or at least like
Dead
my
inside needs a
yeah.
thrill.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like that's the only thrill that we get in our
Yeah.
life is tight deadlines because this seems to be like a common pattern of like, oh hey, like, so and so asked for this data like for like 2 days from now. Can you
Yeah.
run like 30 experiments?
Oh man.
So it's happened a
Mm-mm.
couple times. But who knows? Like maybe they just like get to blame the like lowly worker
Mm.
in their like big men meetings. But I
I told them and they didn't get it done in the point 0.5 seconds that I asked them to. So,
women.
oh my
Um
gosh.
um but yeah, I don't like get in trouble.
That's good.
You know what I
Well, you're
mean?
also intimidating. Like, not, this is not to be like in a rude way. I feel like you're the kind that bosses are like, is she okay? Is she not okay? Keep them on their toes. Like, I feel like usually it's the opposite where people are like, "Hey, is my boss like, are they wondering what I'm doing? Like, are they like, cool? Like, are we good? Am I performing well?" And you're like the opposite where the boss is like, "Am I a good boss? Like, am I doing okay?"
Nice, I like it.
Yeah, you would definitely make a very uh good manager in that way, besides all the other good qualities, but you know what I'm
Just
saying?
being
Like keep them
intimidating.
guessing, keep them on their
Yeah.
toes, like everyone's just like, did we do a good job? And you're like, "Yes, I said that." And then they're like, "Yeah, but is that like for real?"
Mhm.
Because that was like the first year and a half of our friendship. I'm like, "We're cool? Everything good? Okay, cool. Nothing happened, but are we still good?
Mhm.
We're still good, right?" Thinking about it, thinking about it.
I'll ponder
I know, see, that's like, it's like, you're so good.
it.
I'm like, "It's fine. It's good. It's fine." I use emojis for everything. I'm like, "Give me positive affirmation." Katie's like, "'Kay." I'm like, "Okay, she's not mad. It's fine. That's just how she talks. That's just how she texts."
Yeah, I saw another TikTok that was kind of good for people that are anxious about work.
Yeah.
It was like, um, it kind of seems simple, but she was just like, I've learned to like tell myself, like, if you're feeling like, oh, are they mad at me? Or like, oh, did they do this? Like, nothing is a problem or a feeling towards you unless the person says it. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Yeah.
duh. But I
Yeah.
find myself a lot of times like projecting things onto people, and it's like,
Mhm.
no, actually, unless they say something, then you're fine, you know?
Yes. And also, even if they don't say anything and, like, in reality they are mad, you can't do anything about it if they don't
Yeah,
tell you, so what's the point?
exactly. Yeah.
And if they're passive aggressive, then don't be friends with them.
Hmm.
You're
Yeah, I
better
like
than that.
yeah, you are.
Yeah.
I like the quote that, what is it? Other people's opinions are none of your business. Or
Ooh,
like
yes.
other people's opinions about you are none of your business.
Yeah, because nothing can be done about that.
Hmm.
Another one I heard was, "You don't like everybody, so why would you expect everybody to like you?"
Hmm.
That's definitely true for myself. People either love me or they're like, "Hmm, where do you fall?" Just kidding. Let's circle back to that later.
Leave it in the comments below.
I'm co-host, but that's fine. Leave it in the comments. Does Katie secretly hate Kylie? Everybody
No.
vote now.
Oh,
It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I was gonna say, can you hear that by the way? Oh, good, good.
the ghost screaming.
It's just my husband yelling in the garage. By the which, okay, I'll come back to what was I even gonna say? There was something else,
uh,
but I just want to say this because about men, men in garages. Someone made a joke. I forgot who it was. I have to look it up later. The stand-up comedian who made a joke that every time, I'm butchering this, but it's fine. Whenever other guys see dudes in a garage, like at their workbench, it's like a magnet, like they have to approach and they're just like, "Hey, like what are you doing over there?" And like literally as my friend was telling me the joke and we were in our garage, one of our neighbors starts walking over to us like,
no
"Hey,
way.
what are you guys up to?" Literally, I was like, "That is so funny." It is. You
Dang.
just stand there in your garage with the garage door open and there's like gravitate. It's like an invite over without the invite itself. Dudes gravitate towards garages. It is what it is.
I
As
will
they
say,
say.
speaking of husbands and garages, that reminds me of that TikTok where the person with the Home Depot sound in the background, and it was like when your plane has like is being fixed, and then all the dads are like at the window, like talking about like what could be wrong
Oh,
with the plane.
oh, oh, oh my gosh, it's
Those
so
ones get me.
funny.
And they're like all
I
dressed like
love
the
it.
stereotypical dad.
Yeah,
That's
just
good.
like jeans or cargo shorts, New Balance shoes, and like a
And
polo and or just like t-shirt tucked
yeah,
in with a belt.
and
And you're
all
like, what are you?
the
Yeah, they're
arms
just like,
folded and just like, what do you think's wrong? Hmm. Hmm.
I worked on a plane once when I was in a metal shop back in high school. Yeah. Well, what kind of
Uh,
engine do you think's in there? What kind of
yeah,
fuel
they
do you think
always
they're?
know. everything about everything.
They do. I thought it was just my dad. I was like, and then, okay, here's a good one. I don't know if your parents have ever said this to you, where he's like, when I was growing up, he's like, "You don't know that? Like, you about whatever it was." I'm like, "I'm sorry. Whose job was it to raise me? Where else am I supposed to get information?" By the way, this was like back when Google was brand new and
You're
literally
like
not everything was on the internet. You had to go read a book.
you're
I
like,
was
also
like,
I'm 5, so no, I
yeah.
don't know.
He like made fun of me for not knowing how to use a can opener. I'm like, you don't buy anything. Like obviously, like I know now, I taught my husband,
Mhm.
but it's cool. Yeah, but it was a little bit of a time before I knew how to use a can opener. But when they judge you for not knowing how to do something, I'm like, this was your job. Don't blame me.
Mhm.
Obviously, when you're an adult, it's a little different. You have options and choices to learn. Anyways, I thought that was funny, but maybe you didn't. That's okay. That's fine. Um, okay, so the thing I was gonna say really fast about confidence was I was listening to Kathy Heller podcast, and I actually listened to her just as her. I was like, she's like doing her thing. Proud of her as a person. She sounds great. Um, she uses the word juicy a lot less, so that's good.
Is she
I
still
was like, I
talking
don't think
about the whatever retreat?
yeah, no, now it's her own retreat. So she's doing one and that's pretty cool. So she's like
Oh.
leveling up in her own game, right? It's like it's that thing where she's trying to help other not make, but help other people get there. And then she also is getting there with her own business by helping people get there. So it's pretty cool. But what I was going to say is something that she mentioned, and this is where it all ties together, I promise, is she was like, we need to, like, I come across so many women who are so smart, blah, blah, blah. And yet they don't think they can do it or they don't believe in themselves, whatever it is. And she's like, we need to remind you that you have a like HBIC in there. Like you got to find her. She's like, when I'm talking to the person right now who's second guessing themselves, this isn't the person I know you like. I need to be talking to right now. Bring the other one out. Bring the HBIC out because that's who I want to talk to and get this going with. I know that you're there. And I was like, I like that. I like that. I like that. So then this week, someone in one of my classes was like, I mentioned I do jujitsu. And this is not to like brag, but this is just to make me feel good and also maybe help other people feel good. What did I just say? Help me feel good? To
Mm.
share how I help myself feel good, I guess. That sounded like I was bragging still. Anyways, you get what I'm trying to say. I mentioned I do jujitsu and they're like, dang, you're a badass. And I was like, hmm. Like, I'm not really it's so normal for me that people already know I do jujitsu that when people say something about it, I don't really like catch it until they spell it out like that. And then
Mhm.
this week I got myself to the gym a little bit more. And I was like, you're gonna go to the gym because you're a badass. I'm like, yeah. And then I just kept telling myself, like, get it, girl, like you're a badass. Like it sounds stupid, but I was just and then I realized you hear a lot of don't negative self-talk. But you know what happens when you keep highlighting the thing not to do? You do it. So
Mhm.
then it's like, oh, like don't mention that thing that happened to her. And then you're like, oh, but how was that thing that happened to
Mhm.
you? You accidentally gravitate towards it. Um, so then I stopped thinking negative. I literally just said, okay, no more don't think about negative because I'm gonna keep doing the negative because I'm thinking about not doing the negative. So now I'm just gonna say, you're a badass, you're killing it, keep going. And it feels way better.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with is
I
the
know,
negative
and so have
self-talk.
I. Because I'm telling myself, like, not literally telling myself, but I think the thoughts that go in when I'm not muffling them is you can do it, but but are you doing it? Like, it's like very passive
Mm.
aggressive to myself, muffled. And so I don't
Mhm.
even know I'm doing it until I tell myself, like, yeah, girl, yeah. Like, and listening to like Lizzo, Megan Thee Stallion, Cardi B, like Beyonce, like listening to all these female artists that are like empower yourself. Britney Spears, Rihanna. Like, I don't know. I just like at the gym, I'm like, yes, 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 feeling it. Go, go. Missy Elliott. Like, I don't know. Something about it, it just made me feel like if they think I can do it, then I
Mm-hmm.
can definitely do it. Like if they're doing it, I'm doing it. Like we're doing this together. And it's just like me at 5 a.m. at the gym, like on the machine, but like listen to, Megan Thee Stallion singing body yada 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 yada. And I just want to like start dancing in the gym.
Nice.
Anyways, that's my story.
I like
So
it.
let's remind ourselves that like we actually are badasses and instead of instead of no negative, just like double down on the positive.
Mm-hmm.
Fill in the space. Because if you're talking about positive, you can't talk about negative, right? You can't coexist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my thoughts for this episode. And that's
Yay.
all. Thank you for coming to my show. Good night. Just kidding.
Golf clap.
I saw someone the other day, like,
That's awkward.
yeah, super awkward. Anyways, shall we jump on in?
Let us begin. Chapter 1.
What are we talking about this week, Miss Katie?
I don't know, which one are we talking about? I feel like you
Mm,
always ask me,
because I talk too much.
but if you're always the one asking, then I can be the one that asks this time. AKA,
Okay.
then I have to choose. So then if I ask you, then you have to choose. Because I don't want to choose.
I know. Okay, you don't want to choose.
Well, what are
Um,
we talking about this week?
This week, I know and then the next 15 minutes, all they did was talk about who's talking about it.
No, you go. No, you go. You go. You go. No, 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 you.
um, well, knowing the timing of this evening, I'm gonna say we should start with people who survived getting assassinated.
Hey, let's go.
Hmm. Which the reason I thought about that, my
Yeah, I
cat
was
keeps
wondering
meowing.
why.
Yeah.
Did
Um,
you survive an assassination attempt?
No, so that was one of the things that crossed my mind is that you only are assassinated if you're important. Like you're murdered if you're not as
That
important,
was
you know?
my first thing.
Perfect. We'll jump right in. But yeah, that's what got me. So I'll tell you the backstory. That's what kind of got me
Okay.
started. And also, for AC, which we're just gonna say is acting class, for AC, we're doing a script right now from
Uh-oh.
as my pen tries to
The
assassinate me
pen has
because
left the chat.
that was scary. It's called, I think it's called Gross Point Blank. And have you heard of that?
No, it sounds like what I tell myself when I look in the mirror.
Oh,
Speaking of negatives.
no. Oh my gosh. No. We can make like light jokes, but not like
I'm
negative.
kidding. Eh.
Katie's like, for now. No. That is hilarious. That's a good one. We're doing the movie Gross. I think it's called Gross Point Blank. Yeah. And it's about it's a I think it's a comedy. The scene we're doing is a comedy where it's an assassin. It's an assassin who's like great at his job, but he's having all these like he's starting to have some issues where he's missing his targets and which is bad, right? Because if you're an assassin and you miss your target, you're either going to get found out or get killed by the person who's finds out that you tried to kill them, or you get caught and then your like life's over anyways. So the assassin goes to a therapist to like get things figured out, and like the biggest problem is that he needs to know whether or not he wants to go to his high school reunion.
Is this the Bill
See,
Hader
it's like
show?
already, huh?
Is this the Bill Hader show?
I don't
I'm gonna look it
think
up. Because I
so,
thought
because
there was. Oh, it's a
it's an old
movie.
movie, I think.
Oh, never
Yeah,
mind.
that one's called
Then,
Barry,
yeah. Have you watched
right? The
it?
Bill Hader one on H. No, I just keep seeing it advertised on HBO Max, and I kind of want to watch it because I like Bill Hader.
Yeah, I was just looking that up. So I was like, what are the odds? Unless maybe that show is based on the movie. Yeah, it's called
Maybe, but
Barry.
it's a different name. The characters' names are different. But long story short, that's it. That's like so. Then we're talking about assassins in that scene. I'm playing the therapist, of course, and it's like I don't want to see you, and he's like, I need help. I need to know if I should go to the high school reunion, and every time we try to get into his problems and like figure out why he's having all these issues and like missing his targets, even though I'm not supposed to know about it because you have to report that if you know people killing people. Every time we try to get into it, he like changes the subject into something else. And then I'm like, let's get into it. He's like, changes the subject. So then the whole thing is just like cat and mouse.
Have you seen Lasso?
No, what's that?
Oh. The Ted Lasso on Apple with
Uh-uh.
Jason Sudeikis, the soccer.
Mm-mm.
Oh. It's the only thing that it kind of reminds me of is like the whole therapist stuff.
Oh,
It's not really a spoiler, but yeah, never mind. That's a good show too. You should watch
we'll
it.
check it out. Katie made a recommendation. Off clap. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Good job.
It's really
Um,
good.
so that's good to know. That's what got me thinking about assassins is is from AC and just wanting to wonder if people actually survive sometimes. And they do. They
Indeed.
do. But they also don't. So
That's not funny, but
it's not
yes.
funny,
No, I
but
don't know why I laughed, but
it's okay. People laugh when they're uncomfortable. It's the thing. I do it too. Um, because it's like that's their job. So it's awkward. It's like an awkward conversation because sometimes and this is where I was realizing too, and we'll probably get into it, but like sometimes like an assassination is all in context because it's for let's just go into it. So,
okay.
assassins. What's the difference between assassinations and I'm also going to unplug whatever that is. Yeah. So I can plug my computer in. The difference between assassination and murder because I have that broken down as well.
Um yeah, so when I was trying to like Google assassination attempts and stuff, like murder kept coming up too. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
I
"So
also felt
what?"
like such a creep
Yeah.
googling these things.
Um but at least it wasn't like how to. I didn't find any wiki hows
For
on how
sure.
to assassinate someone. Um but yeah, it's basically just like assassination is of someone of importance, like a prominent person in government or a
Mhm.
head of a political faction or something, and it's done for political or religious reasons or political
Mhm.
gain. And a murder is a person killing someone of little or no worldly
It's
importance.
no it's so sad. Sorry, that's I'm not. It's funny because it's this is what I'm learning in comedy. It's when it's you're saying the opposite of what is like like you're saying it like calmly, but it's like super sad, you know? That's what makes
Mhm.
it funny because it's like, what? Yeah. I wonder if we're on the same website.
I don't remember where I got that from, but a lot of there was something like learn English or something, and it was
Oh,
like trying to say the difference.
this one is from difference between dot
Oh, I think I
info.
saw that too, yeah.
Yeah, and it's very helpful. They just listed out the difference. Yeah, you just said it all. Good job. The biggest thing being the reason, essentially, or like the motive, like you said, why they're doing it. And what I was going to say is assassination is so awkward because depending on the context, it could be a positive thing or it could be a negative thing. Now, killing people is not a good thing. But when it comes down to like dictatorships or people who are really, really horrible, is the assassination necessary? Am I allowed to ask that? Like that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
where does the line get drawn? You know,
Yeah.
I think you're not supposed to kill people no matter what.
Yeah,
But
and
not
I don't
everybody
think
agrees with that. That's why we have the
yeah.
military and there's people that do that, right? There's like snipers and like
Yeah, I don't think the US has a
marksmen
very
and
good record of assassinations and then making things better. But
Right.
that's just my opinion. But
And
yeah,
like
that's
even in different countries, right? Like they'll take down the like a terrorist leader, but like to one, and that's what I was watching a video. They're like to to this group, that person's a terrorist, but to the other person, other group, they're like liberating the people. So
mhm.
that's what I'm saying. So just kind of like it's interesting in that the concept of assassination, it's not so defined as murder. Like murder is murder. Like there's not like, but it was like okay, murder, it's just like they killed that person on purpose
Mhm.
versus like you were saying, like the mode, like I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird. Maybe I'm like an awful person for saying that, but that's just I find that very interesting that there's more behind it.
Yeah. It's kind of like the same thing when we are talking about like when you break down like war and battles, it's kind of like state sanctioned murder.
Yeah.
Especially back in the day too when like kings and queens would actually fight with their like troops and stuff. So, like is that assassination if you like find them on the battlefield or is that
Yeah.
just, whatever?
Part of the battle. It's very weird. The world is weird, is what I'm coming to realize. Like, what is considered okay? So I kind of went down a couple different roads.
All right.
I'm curious the roads you also followed.
I took very high overview,
Mm,
so I
good.
don't really have Pacific stories
Perf, because I
like
have
deep ones. I just kind of have like
mm,
shapa shapa.
my baby. Yeah, I have like that too. You know that song? Shabbat,
No.
Shabbat. Mm. Okay.
Bang
It
bang
sounded
bang
like that
dig do
song.
do do. That one.
Mm. Mm. That's not right. See, now all I have to do, I'm figuring out what makes you laugh. It took me like 5 or 6 years.
That's fine.
It's it's the me doing what you do to me naturally
It's
is what makes you laugh, and it what makes me scared. Second
what does
guessing,
that
like,
say about me?
when I'm like, "Okay," and then you start dying of laughter, and then you're like, "Okay," and I'm like, "Oh my god, she's so mad at me right now." It's fine.
See, it's
Everything's
because
fine.
I'm joking.
I I'm realizing based on what you laugh at. I'm like, "Oh, got it. Nailed it."
She
It
nailed
can be
it.
that. It can be that. Okay. So so oh, I thought that's way worse. I thought that was my cat tickling my foot and then he's not there. So then I'm like,
Oh,
that that was not cool. That wasn't cool.
ugh,
Maybe
that just gave me little
it was
shivers.
the ghost of the person I'm about
Um,
to talk about.
it's like you
No,
better
this
get it
would be
right,
really weird.
bitch.
No, because it was
Oh,
Martin Luther King.
oh, oops.
Say that. This is a podcast where we're not being just. This is not obviously. We're just we laugh when we're uncomfortable. So, okay. I did not know that prior to Martin Luther King Jr. being assassinated. Did you know this? 10 years before he was actually murdered. Did you know he was stabbed with a letter opener? Yeah,
No. I
in the
mean, to be
chest.
fair, I feel like I was never taught much about his actual like life. It
Yeah,
was just kind of like a few speeches here and there.
right. Like not, and I agree, and that's why I was like, am I a horrible person for not knowing these things? Like, um, while signing books in Harlem.
Jeez.
This was in 1958. So he was assassinated in 1968. So while signing books, um, this crazy bitch shows up and she thinks she's obviously mentally ill. And she suspected that Martin Luther King Jr. was trying to conspire with the communists. And she grabbed a letter opener and freaking stabbed him in the chest. And he had to go to the
Jeez.
hospital for several weeks and had emergency surgery. And then apparently he actually talks about it in some of his, I don't know which book, but he talks about it in a book about him surviving that. But I'm like, can you fucking imagine being stabbed? And I just bought a letter opener on Amazon. Like those
Oh,
things are
no.
sharp. Although the one I bought's not supposed to cut you, but typically they're very, very, very sharp. And that's like a really horrible, that thing's deep. Like you,
Yeah. Wow.
so
I
I
had
was,
never heard of that.
no, I didn't either. And so I was like, what? Martin Luther King Jr.'s on this list. Like, I know he passed, but, or was murdered, but also like, what? So he did. He survived that before that happened. So I was like, that's insane. Didn't know.
Wow.
And then to keep at that point, I feel like I would be like, I'm good. Like maybe I don't need to be in the limelight. Not in the limelight, but like
So close,
literally
like meet
sacrificed.
and greets type of
Right.
things. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And then, his life got taken. It's like there's just not, yeah, none of it's fair. But this is mind blowing to think
Wow.
there was a pre before that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had another one, but did you want to go first?
Sure.
Because
Well,
you can see mine are pretty high level as well.
well, yeah, I mean, I kind of went the similar route, but just like a little bit more obvious with the US
more
presidents.
more obvious. Oh no, I
So,
bet you we have the same one.
oh no. Well, I just went like I was talk like I have like this very high level stats of like all of them.
Okay.
So if you have like a specific one,
Yeah, I do.
okay. Should I keep going?
Yes.
All right. Um, so there was a website, I don't remember which one, that was talking about like, and who knows about the record keeping on this, but it was like who has survived the most assassination attempts. And I
Mm-hmm.
found this on a couple different websites, and they
I saw
estimate
those
that,
too.
yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
Fidel Castro
Mm-hmm.
supposedly had survived over 600 attempts. I'm like, that's pretty crazy.
Just like constantly like
Yeah,
that's like for two that's almost 2 years straight if
yeah,
we were to put it into time.
yeah. So sounds fun. Um, Wikipedia also was interesting, has a page of a list of heads of state or government who survived assassination attempts going back to 227 BC. And that was the king of Qin in China. Um, but that's interesting because a lot of the really early time guys and gals are like we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about, like different monarchs, and it's also kind of sad too because it's like that was like when like brothers, sisters, family like would go after you to try to get the crown.
Yeah.
Um,
Like it wasn't just the gen pop that you had to worry about. It was like
yeah.
I feel like they're almost all maybe it was always just inside jobs and then they're outsourcing to the gen pop.
Yeah, there's definitely people probably within that circle that wouldn't have been mad about it. Like,
Yeah.
"Oh, oh, how convenient. Now I'm the king." But yeah, it's oh, duh. I was like, "Oh, Hitler's on here."
Yeah.
But he
I saw that.
assassinated himself in the end.
But a lot of people tried to kill him as well, yeah.
Did you see that Tom Cruise movie
I mean, there's a
about
lot of Tom Cruise movies if you
the
watch
one
movies, so.
where he was it was one of the stories about the attempted assassination of Hitler from the
Oh.
like SS people, like an
Are you
inside
talking
job.
about Brad Pitt?
Is it Brad Pitt?
Talking about
No, Glorious Bastards.
Inglorious. Not
Inglorious Bastard, whatever. No, it's
sorry, I'm just laughing at you right now.
I have seen that one though, so I feel like I'm doing pretty
Oh.
good. Let's see.
It is. You're like 1 for
Tom
6.
Tom Cruise. Should I put Nazi movie?
It's
I don't know.
gonna be all these like
Oh,
web pages
Valkyrie.
dedicated to Tom Cruise. Oh, I probably have seen that actually. It sounds really familiar. I don't remember it though.
Yeah, it's Colonel Klaus von Stauffenberg. Um, he fears that Hitler will destroy the country if allowed to run unchecked. And it says, with time running out for Germany and the rest of Europe, von Stauffenberg joins a group of high ranking men who want to overthrow the Nazi regime from within.
Oh dang.
And he becomes a trigger man in a plot to assassinate the evil dictator. Released in 2008. There you go.
What year are we in? 2022. So 14 years ago.
Dang.
Yikes.
Yeah. So
That's a
if you
good
want to
one.
look
I
at
feel
all
like I
the,
have seen it, but it's
you
been a
probably
really long
have.
time.
Yeah. That is the type of movie that I will have a slightly higher percentage of seeing.
Mm. Anything with history
History, because I'm a
or
nerd.
history adjacent. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Ooh, the Queen of England.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you watch The Crown? I wonder if that's who that
Mm.
is. Oh, nope, that's not it.
No.
Supposedly, a British man fired 6 blank shots at Queen Elizabeth II as she rode down the Mall to the Trooping the Colour ceremony in London in 1981.
Wasn't it? 'Cause I saw something on that too. Wasn't it like everyone who's tried to shoot her didn't know what they were doing? They either just had gunpowder and like no bullet. Like you have to have a like for guns to work, you have to have a bullet that gets
Well, this
shot
is
out of the gun.
1981.
But if
Like,
they don't know how guns work,
yeah, there's surprisingly from like the stories that I've read, some people are just very lucky because the person has the gun and they're shooting it at them and just something misfires or it doesn't work. It's like,
but it's
dang.
also 1980. They're not very good. Like you have to be like
In
guns are not this.
1980?
Oh, 1880. Wow.
I'm like, I think they're like okay.
I can't talk about things before the 1900s. No, in 1880, the guns were not. I don't think if
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
I'm not a history person as we know, obviously, but they're not as accurate. So you could be. I think they were saying like the odds of hitting someone are pretty not great, even if you're like perfectly accurate.
Yes, but this is the
God,
current
that's
queen.
my cat. That was scary.
I'm talking
Wait,
about
this
the
was in
current queen.
1980?
Yeah, the current queen.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like ancient queens. That's why I was so
No,
confused.
no, silly Queen Elizabeth
You
II.
did say 1980. Oh
1980. But I was gonna
my
say,
God.
if you watch The Crown, there is a scene where some dude like breaks in. That might be like the 70s or 80s as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he like is just like creeping in her room.
Oh,
Yeah, and then she ends up like sitting with him. I don't know if he had a weapon or not, but that was she diffused the situation very well. But I thought it was going to be that guy, but it wasn't.
diffuses the situation of a dude in her house. I
Yeah,
mean,
those are two
castle.
different ones. So she got shot at and
Oh,
then
ooh. Look, that really
another
got to me.
time this dude like apparently you can just like break into the whatever Westminster Abbey uh
Castle.
the castle, yeah, and he like scaled the wall and her window was unlocked and then he just like was like, "Hey, what's up?" He was very disgruntled and I think and obviously like mentally ill. Something it's been a while since I watched it, but she kind of just sat and talked with him until like the morning and then someone came in and was like, "Oh shit."
They're like, we should have checked on her sooner.
Mhm.
Dang.
Yeah,
So she
that's
survived.
an
So that's good.
yeah, that's another good show. It's a dramatization, but they do
Mhm.
like the real like
Like,
historical events,
mm-hmm.
which I like.
Sorry, I'm just plugging in my other thing. I'm listening.
Yeesh. It's one of those things where it's like we're not taught a lot about English history, and
Yeah.
so like the big event, and she's been around like the queen for so long, um,
Isn't she like 200 years old?
basically. Uh,
Whoa.
it's
And that's like
interesting
a
to like,
compliment. Like she's been around for like literally ever.
yeah, I think she took over. She was the queen not long after World War II.
I can't contribute any information to this to this conversation.
You should
Otherwise, it's
watch
completely made up.
The Crown.
The
This
Crown.
episode sponsored by
The Crown.
The Crown on Netflix.
Ah,
And if
check it
people
out.
are interested, because she's been around for so long, each
Mm-hmm.
season kind of like skips. And this past season was people will probably be more familiar with. They brought in like Princess Diana and like the little babies.
Oh,
So
who
that's
are now
also a very
grown
sad
men.
story, yeah.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see.
Ugh. I wonder how the queen herself feels about shows being made about her,
Probably not a fan.
especially based on how you're describing
It does
them.
not portray very many of the characters in a good light.
Mm. I
And
wonder who's like writing that show. Are they
I
English
don't
or
know.
are they
That's a good question. I'm not sure.
find out, Katie?
I'm on it. Next
Good, good,
episode.
good, good, good. It'd
We'll
be
have
like
a tea
Iceman.
party.
Oh man. Correction corner's gonna be like, Kelly said the 1880s, it was the 1980s. Guns were actually very accurate in the 1980s. Yes, she got shot at. That's all. Yeah, that's very. She sounds like a, knock on wood, a very lucky lady. All things considered.
I know, I feel like we're jinxing it.
Yeah, no, I knocked. This isn't real wood
Okay,
though. Hold on. No, I'm good.
good.
Yeah. Nuts. Yeah, that's crazy. Did you have another?
I just have some like bloop bloops, but if you wanted to. The rest are about US presidents, so if you want to do
Ooh,
your.
I also have a US president.
Okay,
I'm gonna go first.
do it.
Why not? So this one is I want to get his information in front of me. This made me it made me laugh a little bit because this is Theodore Roosevelt, who was the youngest person
Teddy.
to ever serve as president of the United
Oh,
States.
really?
That's what historycollection.com says. I hope that's
Oh,
right.
yeah, that.
He was the 26th president. Um, mm, mm, mm. So, yeah. So just 6 months into his second term in March of 1901. Oh no, so he was 42. Oh, this is not the article I thought it was. Hold on a second here.
Uh-oh.
Oh, here we go. So he was campaigning in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, October 4th. Nope, October 14th, 1912, for the Progressive Party. And while giving his speech, he was shot in the chest. And wait, where is the line? I have to find it. His first line was, quote, "Friends, I shall ask you to be as quiet as possible." His second line was, "I don't know whether you fully understand that I have just been shot." And everyone was like, "What?" And
Like they
then
didn't hear it or something? Or
I guess, well, because it
or
was
there's like
loud,
so much like
apparently. It was
cheering.
so loud. And he was like, "Hey, be quiet. Also, I've been shot."
Hey, by the
And
way.
he like showed his shirt is like bloody. And they're like, "What the hell is happening?" So, um, what did he say? So as he showed his like not his hair, but like his bloodstained shirt, he said, quote, It takes more than that to kill a bull moose. And he reassured
Uh,
everybody. And he
like that was
reached,
the
so then,
party.
right. So then he reached into his coat and he pulled out
A gun and
a
shot the other. No, I'm just kidding.
no, a bullet riddled 50-page speech. So his speech was sitting there. So it says, quote, "Fortunately, I had my manuscript, so you see, I was going to make a long speech, and there is a bullet. There is where the bullet went through," holding up his paper, "and it probably saved me from it going into my heart. The bullet is in me now, so I cannot make a very long speech, but I will try my best." And he proceeded to give a speech with a
Oh
bullet
my
in his chest.
god. All 50 pages? That's too
Probably not.
much.
Probably not. No, or
I
he's
well,
really fast. Let's see. He was described. Okay, this is kind of weird. They described. Wait, I'm so confused. They said that he was like an electric battery of inexhaustible energy, and for the next 90 minutes, the president said, "I give you my word, I do not care a rap about being shot, not a rap."
dang, that's probably
Rap
a really
was
bad curse
different.
word back in the day.
Probably. Um, although
Because
his voice weakened and his breath shortened, he glared at his nervous aides whenever they begged him to stop speaking or position themselves around the podium to catch him if he collapsed.
I have a
Only with the
question.
speech completed did he agree to visit the hospital. So you're right. He did. Ew, they have a picture of his shirt. Oh my gosh, I didn't actually see that earlier. Um, what's your question? I'll try to answer.
So,
This is from
oh, this is just
history.com, by
like
the
kind of
way.
like a a pondering.
Right.
So he's like, "Hey, everyone, shut up! I just got shot, but let me just keep doing my speech." Did they like get the guy, or it seems like almost he didn't even
Yeah,
care.
great question.
He was just like,
He
"Hey,
didn't
can't
really,
shoot me."
yeah. So then, let's see. The shooting occurred after 8. I'm just going to read this article from history.com. Shooting occurred after 8. Roosevelt entered his car as he stood up and waved his hat with his right hand. A flash from a Colt revolver 5 feet away lit up the sky. The candidate's stenographer put the would-be assassin in a half Nelson and grabbed the assailant's right wrist to prevent him from firing a second shot.
What's a half Nelson?
It's a wrestling term. I'm gonna look that up to describe you.
I didn't
Half
know if that was like a
Nelson.
old timey
It's kind.
maneuver, or
It's
is it
like a. It's a thing where you're
kind of like
trapped.
a
It's a
headlock?
wrestling thing. It's more of like an arm, like a shoulder slash head block. I don't use it, but it's fine. Let's do this. Half
Half Nelson,
Nelson.
everyone.
Half Nelson. Not to be confused with The Simpsons. Okay. Nelson? No, you don't. I forgot you don't watch TV. Okay. Back to History Channel. So then everyone was like, they saw the shooter and they're like, kill him. And then um, there was only one person, the coolest and least excited of anyone in the frenzied mob was Roosevelt.
Hmm.
And right, he he said, "Don't hurt him. Bring him here. I want to see him." Roosevelt asked
Uh-oh.
the shooter, "What did you do it for?" And with no answer forthcoming, he said, "Oh, what's the use? Turn him over to the police."
Oh, I thought you were gonna like kill him.
And then yeah,
And then he's
no.
just
See,
like,
um, yeah, and then apparently there was like a dime-sized bullet hole in his chest on the right side. He told another party official that he pinked me, which sounds weird.
that sounds
Um,
weird.
he coughed into his hand 3 times, no blood, so it didn't go to his lungs, but he went to the hospital. Oh, that's what it. Oh, you know what? That's okay. So it was on his way to
Two.
give the speech. And then he was like, no, get me to the speech. And then after the campaign, he went to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. Yeah,
Wow.
the dense overcoat, the steel reinforced glass eyeglasses case, and the hefty speech in his right inner jacket pocket. And he was in excellent shape, blah, blah, blah.
Was he?
Well,
He was a pretty big dude, wasn't he?
bull moose or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how he described himself, remember? Um,
Well, that was the name of
and
his
then
party that he was running with.
uh, I thought he was also like a hunter. So I thought that
Yeah.
was part of it too.
I
That
think
he
he
like
also started the national park system, I think.
that
Which is
sounds
kind
right.
of like, you know, because he liked to hunt, but then he also
There's a
had
thing
the
though. Okay, so I don't know if people know this, but I have some friends who are hunters, but like apparently hunters are some of the biggest proponents for conservation because they want to keep them in their natural habitats and keep the hunting area preserved
but you can't
to
hunt in
make it.
national parks.
Mm,
But I get the sentiment.
yeah, I think I was thinking of something else.
No, but
Remind me. You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm trying to
the
talk. Oh,
general
there's
conservation versus, yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And wow, we should like okay, I'm gonna do like this. I'm gonna send these to you for later. So here is the picture. It's kind of graphic, but it's in black and white. This is the blood-stained shirt by President Theodore Roosevelt here. And then we're gonna go ahead and say, here's the hefty script
Oh, there's a picture of it?
here. Yeah, that's why I don't just, this is
Got it,
not
got
for
it, got
fun. Yeah.
it. I
Glad we went over
know.
this. Otherwise, it's just me like shaking my hands. And then this is the glasses case. I would feel like I would be like, sure, you just coincidentally had all this
Yeah.
stuff. Like, no, for real. And then here's his like metal glasses case with a hole in it too. Like, here. Hooray, cray. I can't. Yeah, that's so crazy. Anyways, so yeah, he survived the assassination. And I don't like when you see articles at the bottom of web pages and you're like, ooh, that's creepy. I don't want to read that. You ever, you know, those ones that's like, or they're
Yeah,
like
like the
super
clickbaity
catchy,
ones,
the
yeah.
clickbaity. Sometimes those clickbaity get me, and I'm like, oh, I was baited. And it's just like, this is stupid. And then more pop-ups pop up, and I'm
My
like, please
dad
stop.
always clicks on those. He's like, "Oh, did you know blah 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 blah?" I'm like, "Where'd you see that, Dad?" And he's like, "Oh, I was the article I was reading." And I was like, "You were reading about that?" He's like, "No, like it was at the bottom." And then I click and I'm like, "Oh, Dad, they've
Oh,
got
dad's
you."
because he got to find out about everything. They're like, I don't know
Mhm.
that thing. Gotta click that.
So I could tell my friends at work.
Exactly. And my kids. Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's an interesting one.
Right? Crazy.
50-page manuscript, the original Kevlar.
Mm-hmm. Plus a glasses case, plus his hefty coat.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Back to you in the studio.
Back to me. Thanks. Um, so I just went more back to presidents. Um, do you know how many have actually been assassinated?
For sure, one.
Yes.
Oh, for sure, two.
Yes, there we go. The other two I didn't
Wow.
know.
Wow, I'm really horrible.
The other two is Garfield and McKinley.
Oh, God, I should have known McKinley because that is why Theodore Roosevelt was the youngest person because he took over for McKinley. I just
Hmm.
read that
See,
for
there you
sure.
go.
Right there. Mm-hmm.
Interestingly enough, though, JFK and Lincoln both survived previous attempts before actually being assassinated. So that's kind of sad.
That's
Lincoln's
what
was
I'm
just
saying.
like right before being assassinated. Um, but I have
That
been to
that
Ford's
sucks so
Theater.
much. Really?
Mm-hmm. I already
Yikes.
bought the
Is it
tickets.
spooky?
Um, yeah, it's kind of weird. You can go like to the box where they sat at, so you're kind of like walking the same path as John Wilkes Booth. And
Whoa.
then they've converted the basement into like a little museum, and so you can see like the what he was wearing. And then across the street is a museum now too. So they it was like a what did they call it back in the day? An inn?
Yeah.
Not like a B&B, but whatever. Or it could have even just been someone's house. I don't remember. But they
Yeah.
brought him over there because they're like, this dude got shot, and there's not like like ambulances or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was more of like, let's keep him here, and the doctor will come to him. And so you can go and visit that house thing and see where like he died, I guess. And they have like the pillow and stuff. Um, but
They kept all
it's
those things?
mhm.
I,
And they have
I,
like the gun
I
and stuff.
it just makes you want, like, I know, like, I guess evidence. What year was this? I'm bad at history.
The 18 the early well, it was shortly after the Civil War had ended, so that was like the
Right.
early 1860s.
Hmm.
Um and I think it was right after he got reelected, or he was going to be. And they're like,
Because
"Nah."
I'm just trying to think, like, as those people who are like, we should save this pillow, like, this could go in a museum one day. Like, who, why, how?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if it's probably more of like a souvenir type of thing, and it's just been like kept in the family.
Ew. I would
Is
be like,
that's what
please.
I'm thinking. And then at some point,
They're like, please take
they
this.
like keep like the Smithsonian. I think the one time we went, like the pillow was being like worked on or whatever to preserve it. But he was killed April 15th, 1865.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, that's the Mike Birbiglia joke.
Uh-oh.
So we already bought the tickets. No.
Mm-mm.
He talks about how he goes to this hotel and it has all these like Abraham Lincoln quotes on it. And one of them was like, "Whatever you are, be a good one." And he's like, "Really? Abraham Lincoln gets credit for that?" And then he just kind of goes to make jokes like, "You're a great dad, Abraham Lincoln." Like blah blah blah, Abraham Lincoln. And then the
Like,
last
just
one
like
is
the first person to
it's just
say it. Yeah.
like random stuff. Like he gets to have credit for all the quotes. And
Yeah.
then the last one is like, "Well, we already bought the tickets, Abraham
Oh,
Lincoln."
dude.
That was actually my first Instagram picture. Is me
We
outside of
already,
Ford's Theater with my tickets to Ford's Theater.
you're like, we already bought the tickets. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
But yeah, it's very, I don't know, I like history.
I'm
And
beginning to like it. I'm like, I'm
yeah, I
trying.
think you have to like go to these places and like see stuff. And then like the dark side of that whole story is,
Besides him dying.
well, yeah, I mean like talking about like weird artifacts and stuff.
Mm.
Because that was it's Ford's Theater is like in the Washington D.C. area. So at the Smithsonian in DC, they had, or at least when we went, there was like an
Mhm.
exhibit on Lincoln, and so then there's like a whole section on his assassination. So that was the first, like, it was a whole group of people that were in on the plot, and one of them was a woman, and so she ended up being the first woman executed. I don't know, like
Ever?
by the government or like whatever. I could look
Yeah,
her
in
up.
the
Her
US.
Mary Surratt. Um, but they were all hanged.
Oh.
Um, so then in the
Oh.
Smithsonian, um,
So in the Smithsonian, they still have their nooses.
kind of. So she was hanged. She became the first woman executed by the U.S. federal government, along with her co-conspirators. But the Smithsonian had their like the bags that they put over their heads and their they call them death masks, but it's like the the molding or whatever. The like the
Of their
plaster
face.
cast, yeah. And they had a Lincoln's too, and his hands.
What's up with people and hands? I'm just thinking of
They were very big.
Galileo's pinky.
Yeah.
I believe it. Yeah. Well, didn't he have he had that condition where you keep growing.
Really?
Yeah, right?
Oh, I don't know. I just thought
I
he was
can't know
tall.
that and you not, Lincoln.
It wasn't in the exhibit. That's all my knowledge.
Um um they're theorizing that the genetic disorder that he had was associated with Marfan syndrome.
Hmm.
Did Lincoln have Marfan syndrome? Lincoln was not known to be loose jointed. He was never known to have a heart murmur. Then why would he? I don't know. I thought my grandma told me something that wasn't right. That wouldn't be the first time. If dads know everything, grandmas sometimes don't know. They think they know
Yeah, they tell more stories.
everything. They do. Genetic too.
Hmm?
Well, my dad told me this too.
Blah,
You know
blah.
that thing? This feels very much I was just so convinced. Like I don't know if you saw my face, but I was like, yeah, he definitely had something. And then you're like, what? And then I'm like, what? Because if you don't know, then I start questioning it. Dang.
Wow. It's like
Yeah.
Washington didn't chop down the cherry tree
Yeah, that's
and
exactly kind
Lincoln
of how
didn't
I
have
feel.
whatever.
Yeah, I thought he did. And it's like, so that would be like saying like Lincoln's hat was not tall. And you're like, he wore a fedora? What? I don't remember that. We
It's
always
just
wore
like
big
the
hats in
first
the place.
baseball hat. Yeah.
That's kind of
Dang.
how I feel right now. I feel betrayed.
I'm sorry.
See, this is why I don't learn about that history because I remember it one way and I'm so certain, and then it's like wrong. And like, oh,
Oh. Have you seen that's another good movie.
wrong.
Lincoln
Oh,
with Daniel Day-Lewis, classic actor.
have not seen it. I
You might
do
not like it.
because it's
It's pretty
history. I
boring.
know.
It's just it's like pretty like
Historic,
history.
like
But
history in the
it's
making. Yeah.
yeah, it's like you're just there.
Mm.
But it's good and it's long, so
Oh.
I would
You're not
recommend
really doing
it.
a great job
I know
convincing me.
I will
You're like, it's
generally
long and it's boring and it's about history.
if you like history, you'll quite enjoy it. If you're not
Okay.
a fan, maybe
I'll
watch
do my
Lincoln
best.
Vampire Slayer or whatever.
Or Lincoln Lawyer or something.
Sure.
Have you seen that movie?
No.
It's not about Abraham Lincoln. It's with Matthew
Well,
McConaughey. All right, all right, all
is
right.
that why he does the
And
Lincoln commercials?
yes, because he's the Lincoln lawyer.
Is it really?
Yes, because he drove a
No.
Lincoln in the Lincoln lawyer. That's why he's a Lincoln lawyer, because he drives a Lincoln and he's a lawyer.
Wow.
Get
And
on
he's
board.
gonna run for governor of
Well,
Texas.
okay. I just realized this is like we're like our own comedy. Like you are so smart with your history and you're like, duh. And then I'm like smarter with my movies and I'm like, duh. Like it's yours is more important, obviously, but
Well, I wouldn't say
uh,
that.
I would say that's probably more important to know history. Yeah. But I'm working on it
You can do it through
because you're a
movies.
badass and you're learning.
Yeah.
You're learning. We're learning. Um, what was the next thing you had? Was there another?
Well, that was just the four who have actually been assassinated. There's 13 total that have escaped assassinations. And a lot of them are
Wow.
multiple times. And I just have them listed if you are interested.
Yes. I did
You're
have the
like, no.
presidents on a placemat when I was 7.
Me
So I
too.
know I had the presidents. I had outer space when Pluto was still I almost said president planet, and
Isn't
when
it
Pluto
back
was a
in?
president. Is he?
I don't know. I feel like we're being an abusive partner to
It's like
Pluto.
on again, off again,
Mm-hmm.
yo-yo relationship. And I think I also had. Was it chemistry?
Ooh, I didn't have
Definitely the
that one.
solar system. Definitely the presidents. And I would eat every day, and I felt like, well, obviously I ate every day, but thank goodness I ate every
Was
day.
that a
That
thing? Is
sounded
that
pretentious.
a 90s thing of
But
like getting
it
the
is like
placemats out?
placemats. I wonder. They were like
That
plastic
was a big thing.
placemats.
Yeah. We had
Yeah.
like a stack of them, and me and my brother would
Yeah.
like fight. So we had the presidents, we had ASL, I had ballet positions,
Nice.
and then I think we just had like general like Disney ones.
Yeah.
And it'd be like, okay, like set the
Like, what was that
table.
one? Yeah.
Hmm.
Because like whoever got that placemat was like, they're gonna learn the most or whatever. Or you're like, who was president? Like
Yeah. Hmm.
it was like table conversation pre cell phones.
Yep.
Hmm.
I
That's
wonder
how
who
we
else
kept the
has that memory.
conversations going.
Comment
We
down
should,
below what
okay.
placemats you
Here's an
had.
example of the placemat I had. Okay, my mom keeps everything. I feel like she would still have these.
Yeah, and like
I
the
doubt she
Disney
does.
ones were like smushy,
Yeah, those
like
ones were
little
cool.
memory foam, like
Mm-hmm.
little ones.
These one, yeah, there was like the
But then
teeniest,
there's like the
tiniest.
plastic.
Yeah, I think mine had like a tiny give too. Remember like pushing on it.
Yeah, good. Oh wow, that was like a total memory unlocked.
Yeah, it's like, and you have entered the next portal. Like, yeah, that was
Oh,
cool. Good
I want
times.
those placemats.
Yeah, here's an example of the planet one. Here's an example of the president one again. Ding. If you're not sure what we're talking about, go on our YouTube channel and watch
Yes.
this because
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about it. So now
Yeah.
you know.
There you go.
Visualizing what we're talking about. And then you can see our faces.
Eh.
Or if you're Yankee,
Uh,
meow.
um. So the 13 are Andrew
Oh yeah.
Jackson,
Sorry.
um, Theodore Roosevelt. We just learned about him. Hoover, FDR, Truman, Nixon, Ford, which I think they did. I don't know if the whole episode was on him, but MFM I remember like they were talking about Ford. He was
Hmm.
it's really sad. It was like back to back, almost like a few days apart. And interestingly, is both women. Two different women tried to kill Ford like days apart, and they were both like had the
Lovers.
gun and was shooting it, and it just didn't like the one didn't go off. I think the other one like missed, and then both crowds and someone tackled the women. Oh, I
Dang.
think that's what it was because the secrets he was like a former military dude
Hmm.
that tackled the second woman on the second attempt, and he kind of like became this hero, but then like he got outed, and so then it ends up being like a really like sad story about that dude.
Mm.
I think that's what the MFM story is about, is that guy.
Oh.
Anywho. Um
That went down a very interesting.
yeah, I was like
I was like,
I
whoa,
like it
whoa,
was
whoa,
coming to
whoa.
me as I was talking about it.
Yeah, no, it was good. I'm impressed.
Thanks. Carter, Reagan. Have you been to the Reagan Library?
I don't think so.
They do like there's like an exhibit on his assassination attempt because they didn't know like he was so that he was at first even hit because the guy starts shooting and they like pull him into the limousine and they just like start driving away and they're like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then like they're like, "Oh, but there's blood," and he ends up being shot in the chest and has a lot of internal bleeding and almost dies.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
but he survives, obviously. Clinton, George W. Bush, Obama, and Trump.
Whoa. Very
So,
recent.
yeah, I
Like
mean,
still happening.
fortunately, I think George W. Bush had like, oh yeah, that was the interest. He was somewhere in the country of Georgia
Mm.
um with other leaders, and someone threw a hand grenade that was like wrapped in a handkerchief so it would like detonate or something, but and like threw it at him.
Mm-hmm.
But then the handkerchief was also like keeping the safety employed or something, so nothing ever happened. But it kind of sounds like Obama's and Trump's kind of were more of like they stopped the plot before, like there wasn't any like active.
Like it was more
Um,
monitoring the discussions online or
yeah,
something like that.
there was like Obama's
More
was two
proactive. Sorry.
like two no it's okay, two white supremacists like we're gonna go and shoot a bunch of black people, and it was gonna end with Obama. And I don't know if it's like the Secret Service slash FBI or like both. Like the people monitoring the president's safety found out and were like, nah, and then they arrested them before anyone was hurt.
So
Um,
don't Google how to kill the president or anything like that.
yeah, for real. And
Seriously, when I
then,
was doing some of the searching, I was like, I hope I don't get flagged by someone's
oh,
database.
like I'm real interested in what classifies assassination. Um, and then Trump's, I don't remember ever hearing. He was at a Las Vegas rally, and then a British national who had mental issues tried to steal a cop's gun. I'm assuming outside of the event,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously was quickly like nothing ever
Stopped. Yeah.
happened.
But they
Um,
knew that was his intention.
yeah, because I guess he was like saying it.
Hmm.
Uh, but I think he didn't get as because he went to trial. I think it went like mental issues side of it. And
Right.
he apologized. That's what the article said. And I'm like, it kind of sounded like he really did have like a flip of the brain.
Of the switch. Yikes.
Yeah. But I don't remember ever hearing about that or like the ones that I've been alive for.
Yeah. No,
I don't. And I
neither
wonder if that's
do
part
I.
of it. Of like
They
not
don't
like
talk about it.
especially the ones like the Obama one where it's not even anything, because I'm assuming it's kind of like the way people have stopped talking about, or like they've changed the way they cover mass shootings.
Yes.
So it's
Like you
like
don't
they're
want to give
mhm,
publicity because you don't want to draw attention or make people
or
think they're
have
going to
more
get
people.
airtime or whatever. Yeah.
So
Dang. Yeah, that would make sense. And like good on our whoever is doing that monitoring that they're keeping
oh yeah, I'm
tabs.
the US president is probably the safest person,
Yeah.
especially in like modern
Like
times.
biggest target, but realistically pretty safe. It's always an
Mhm.
inside job. If something happens, it's always
Yeah.
inside. So that's how you gotta, I mean, if you watch like House of Cards or any of those shows,
Mm.
like I don't, but
Ah, that one's
I've seen a
good.
couple of episodes. I know my husband always tells me that too. I need to watch it. I don't know, Kevin Spacey, uh,
Yeah, it's kind of one of those
just
things where,
knowing now what we know, it just kind of like I'm like, no. It's that
yeah,
thing where you have it's like hindsight is 2020, but I'm like watching it as hindsight and I'm like, ew,
yeah. I never watched the last season because that's kind of like
when it was happening.
when, like the in between, yeah. And also, he, I don't like his. I think he's had a few court cases of stuff,
Hmm.
and like the witnesses like mysteriously die, and
We
I was
should
like,
just talk about that next
yeah,
episode. That would be a good. I'm curious. Was that your list
yeah.
of
That was kind of
presidents?
that was 13, baby.
Dang. Um, so I have a crazy assassin story. Um, of a dude I found online, obviously. Not like I researched assassins because I was like, who are these people? Why are they doing this? What's happening, And I'm out of breath. Just like ran down the stairs. I'm like, and this assassin. Okay. So I'm gonna move these up a bit. So there's this horrible man named, and maybe okay, this is that thing where when we talk about like movies or history or life, and I'm like, have you heard of? And it's like someone really famous.
Oh no.
Like when I didn't know that Reykjavik is like the capital of Iceland. I still feel stupid. I was watching the flight attendant and they like said Reykjavik like 7 times. I was like, okay, it's really common knowledge. Good to know. Now I know. So this guy's name is Richard Kuklinski.
Ramirez.
That's not funny. See, that's our humor. It's like, no, haha. He was
Sorry, can
he's
you say the
from
last name
California.
again?
Kuklinski. I think he's from Jersey. Um, and let's see here. So let's just go into his story. Like who is this guy? So this guy kind of caught my attention when I found a list of assassins because um just like how ruthless and how insane and the time of when everything happened and whatnot. So this is happening in the night starting as early as 1948 when he was 13 years old.
Oh wow.
So he was bullied a lot as a kid. This is not a justification, just background. Abused by his parents. His dad was an alcoholic. His dad actually abused the family so much that he actually murdered his older brother, like
Whoa.
the assassin's older brother. So, and then the dad left because he was like, I don't know, obviously guilty and just left the family and abandoned them. And then the mom started abusing them kids more because they wanted to be a strict environment, and he was just overall horrible environment to be in. And then to take out his frustrations, he would like kill animals. So that's like red flag number 12. Um, and then 19 by the time he hit age 13, in 1948, there was a local bully who was just like super mean to him and mean to other kids, and he had enough. And so he stood up to him and he ended up killing him.
Whoa.
And this is 13 years old, like 13 years old. It's insane. He's your child. And he ended up, this is like kind of graphic. So my face looks like this. This is 1948. I don't know. I just feel like to be 13 is crazy. I know the 1940s were not that long ago, but I feel like he's ahead of his time. He like pulled out all the guy's teeth and he chopped off
What?
his fingers so that they couldn't trace him because they didn't want him to track the hands and I'm like, this assassin
What?
is ahead of his time, like for what he's doing. I know. That's why I'm like, this guy is like, what? Like you could use your insanity for good things. Like, why is this being used for bad things? Anyways, um, and then he got like, he got the confidence after that and he got away with it. So then he ended up beating
You got away with
up.
it?
He got away with, well,
Wh-
he didn't, yeah, he like,
Wow.
he's an assassin, right? There's a lot more to the story.
Well,
So
13. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true.
he's 13. So, as far as I understand. And then he went and beat up all the other local bullies who were under the wing of the guy he murdered. And so then he like beat them up real bad. And so no one messed with him ever again, obviously, because they're gonna get killed if they do. And throughout his, as he became an adult, he became known as like this super short tempered, really hot headed, like if you mess with me, I'll like beat you up or kill you, essentially. He ended up eventually getting involved with the Gambino crime family and he was working with them.
Oh,
They're famous. I don't know
I
them
know.
very
I think
well.
I know who this is now.
Okay. Yeah, I think when I say the name, you're gonna be like, oh, and this is why I'm like, is he
Yeah.
famous? And everybody knows but me, but it's cool. Um, So then one of the businesses they were in was oh God, what's it called? Like not counterfeit. The thing when you illegally sell something that you're not supposed to like resell. I can't think of the word for porn. So they were
Like
selling porn
embezzling?
selling porn illegally, I think is what it was, but they
Oh.
were like it was
What
I can't
time was
remember.
this? Because porn could have just been
19
illegal.
they I think 19 I would guess like probably 60s,
So,
1960s.
yeah, it could have just been illegal.
There is a
Like in
word for it.
general. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was definitely a word for it. Let's
Isn't
um,
that weird too? Like how that kind of person just finds like a crime
yeah.
family to like work for or be with.
Well, because they were already like bad people, and then they just like keep
It's
going
like
down
they
that
like
path.
they bad people just kind of like like are drawn
Gravitate.
to each other. Yeah, gravitate is the
Mm-hmm.
word.
Gravitate.
I think
Where
I'll
is
try
my assassin list?
my assassin list.
That sounds bad. Almost there. I keep my computer's going so slow. It's so mad at me.
Come on, computer.
Here it is. Okay. Pirating. Pirating pornographic film.
Pirating.
Not to be confused with pirate pornographic films. Lighten it up a little bit. Okay. So he was super scary, and actually he was 6'5", 300 pounds, like freaking scary dude.
Wow.
On top of the fact that he's also super violent. That's like worst of everything, and he like hurts animals. Um
Do you think that was part of his
and
resume?
yeah.
He's like, well, I killed someone at 13, killed a bunch of
Yeah.
animals.
Literally, that's the scary thing, right? Like that's like he's just like he has no anything left in him at that point. I mean, after like not saying it's not to excuse or justify or anything, but like that's where he got. Like that's what it
Yeah.
got him. That's what it led him to. Everyone makes their own choices, but he chose the dark side. And
Mm-hmm.
he just kept going down it because probably because he had again, not to just if I had to speculate, it's like his family sucks. The Gambino crime family like adopts him in. And then they
Mm-hmm.
were like, he eventually became their favorite enforcer within the gang. And to test him, they literally said, they're like, we want to test your loyalty to us. So here's the test. And he's like, okay, whatever, I'll do whatever you want. And they pointed at a stranger on the street walking their dog. They're like, go kill that person. So he went up to him and shot him in
No.
the head right there, point blank, like done. And then from that point forward, he was like in with the family. So like jumping into a gang or all that stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
gang requirements, like that's been a thing. It's insane. And so that was like the first of his many his many things. He did many hits. He would kill anyone who crossed the family. And then they list out their like witnesses, cops, rivals, etc. He did this for 30 years, and he
Wow.
says he killed over 200 people. And one of the hardest things about catching him was that he didn't have like the same MO. Didn't matter
Mm.
what the weapon was or the style. He used handguns, crossbows, sawed-off shotguns, blunt objects, knives, and cyanide.
Jeez.
And sometimes he would poison them by injection. Sometimes he'd put it in their food or an aerosol spray or simply put it on their skin.
Wow.
And um he got real clever in his ways to confuse the coroners because this is the 60s 70s when things are starting to pick up in
Mm-hmm.
the crime world and get more on top of these things or like become more knowledgeable, and he would put them into freezers after he murdered them to confuse the coroners about their time of death.
Mm.
So then he would do that. So like he basically freeze them and then dump them.
Jeez.
And actually he would freeze them, it says, for years. So then they were like not just like time of death, like was it afternoon or was it evening? Like literally what year did this happen? They can't pinpoint him because where were you during that time, but where
Mm-hmm.
was this that whole thing. And so he was given the nickname the Iceman, which is how there's a movie that was inspired by this, not inspired, but like not like in a good way, um called The Iceman, and it came out in 2012. I actually have not seen it, but that's what it's about, is about him. And they finally caught him in 1986. So freaking in the 80s. Like
Wow.
imagine like this man is at large in the 80s. Ugh. And it was actually an undercover agent who got him. And the investigation, let's see. So they staged a cyanide deal and they went undercover and then yeah, like
Wow, that would be
basically
scary.
yeah. Imagine being that undercover cop and being like, I know this is him. Like, I have to keep my cool and I'm
He
trying to
must have
sell him.
been old too, like still doing the
Well, yeah.
work.
So, age three, let's do some math. 1948, he was 13. So, he was born in 1935. So, then if it's 1986, so he's like 51.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's still the 80. Okay.
Yeah. 51 is not
Not,
old.
yeah, for
Maybe
some
for
reason,
back
I was
then a little
thinking
bit, but
like how old he would have been now, but
oh,
I'm
yeah, he's
like,
dead.
no, like in the 80s, I guess
In
it's
the
not.
80s. Yeah. So, actually, he died on March 5th, 2006, at age 70. Interestingly enough, it was labeled suspicious because
Mm,
apparently he was going to testify against a former mobster while he was in jail. Um, and that mobster was being tried for murder. But when they did the autopsy, they said it was natural causes. But who's to say when you're all involved with the
yeah.
mob and stuff? So yeah. Isn't that
Wow.
insane? It sounds like the real like a real life like when they say like jack of all trades, like that's what I
Mm-hmm.
picture like an assassin is that like they just do what it takes to get the job done, I
Mm-hmm.
guess. And that's what makes it so like scary and interesting and spooky.
Yeah.
Because what I was trying to Google, and this is why I was like, I hope I don't get flagged, was like, are assassins still a thing? Like, and they were like, yeah, obviously in the government. I'm like, okay, but like outside of the government, because there are people who
Mm,
become like snipers and marksmen and like are specially trained operatives to do undercover work, So it's like that's where
yeah.
I was like my brain was just like being like, what's happening when I was thinking about morals and assassinations and whatnot. So like this is all too much. Yeah, and that's my research on assassins and surviving assassins.
Interesting. Yeah, I thought that, like, I feel like I've heard of that story,
Mm-hmm.
and I wonder if it's because of like the suspicious death at the end.
Yeah, with
Because I
the
thought he was gonna be connected to Whitey Bulger, but
mm,
doesn't sound like it. It's a different crime family.
yeah, the one it said he was in Richard claimed he was involved with Jimmy Hoffa's disappearance, if that's
Hmm.
someone you know. My
Yes.
husband's smiling. Is that like a
That's what
famous
The Irishman is
lobster?
about.
Oh, haven't seen that.
I
You
think
know,
I haven't either, but that's like the one where it's like JFK's people and Jimmy Hoffa.
mm,
There's like that's kind of like one of the big like conspiracy because no one's ever found his body.
oh,
So it's like who killed him?
see.
Where is he?
So this guy over here off camera, his go-tos are like mobs and robberies and all those kinds of true crime, war movies. And I'm like, that's too much history. Like,
So that yeah, I'm on that side.
no. Yeah. And I'm like, give me the psych stuff. Give me the stuff where it's like twisted and
Mindhunter.
Mindhunter. Like really dark. Even the flight attendant, I've been watching that one and that's pretty dark.
Hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen that.
Stop laughing. Sorry.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's like a dark comedy, but it's also has dark moments. So, but yeah, trying to think of other shows that are like that. We talk about them. They're here and there.
Mm-hmm.
You, you know,
Mm-hmm.
not you, but you, you. So, yeah, yeah, just another day in
In the
the life of,
mines.
in the mind of horrible people and trying to talk about it. so that we can sleep better at night. The irony.
Yes, for real.
Get it out of our heads
Get
so
it
we
out.
can get to sleep and have positive thoughts about being badasses.
Hmm.
Yeah. Dang. Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
So, fun in like the best way that it can be, in like a productive way. Um, I learned a lot, so much history, and I didn't fall asleep, so that's good.
Yay. We'll get
Because
you.
literally every history class, I like ask my friends, like I literally fell asleep. Sorry, teacher. And yeah, I'm
And
super
that's all.
stoked and proud of your marathon and of our
Oh, thank you.
podcast and of our listeners for being so supportive and staying tuned each week, even when we have spring break or Katie runs a marathon. And
Yeah.
so there's like little breaks here and there
Yeah.
because guess what? We're real people. And sometimes you don't hear back from your friend for a couple weeks, and that's okay. We're still here.
Exactly.
So,
We're back, baby.
yeah, if you're ever curious, like, hey, what's going on? Check out our Instagram because we're
Hmm.
probably updating you there. We are definitely updating you there of what's the haps. So, thanks for checking in. If you know a story you want to share or a topic or a movie or whatever, send it to us, listeners. Looks like I'm
Hmm.
talking to Katie, but
We
listeners,
know, we know.
we know. Our email is you're not paranoid at gmail.com. You can also write to us on our website, you're not paranoid.com, or DM us at you're not paranoid, or give us
You
a
can leave us a
call at
voice message.
oh yeah, I was like jokingly like, here's my number, but you're right. Anchor.fm slash what is it? YNP
Hmm.
podcast?
I think it's just
Dang.
YNP.
YNP for you're not
It'll be
paranoid,
in the all the
obviously.
links will be in the show notes as well. So
Look
don't
down
worry.
there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we appreciate you and we will see you next time.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Eh.